Captain Lisa Morrison stood at the viewport of the Earth Defense Fleet flagship Dauntless, watching the stars shift as they approached the massive space station. The Galactic Council headquarters loomed ahead, a sprawling structure of gleaming metal and pulsing lights that dwarfed her vessel. After decades of unofficial contact with individual alien species, humanity was finally getting its formal introduction to the ruling body of the galaxy. "Nervous, Captain?" Jack Russell asked, adjusting his diplomatic uniform. His calm voice didn't match the worry in his eyes. "Just cautious," Lisa replied. 50 years of space travel, and we're still the new kids on the block." The Dauntless slowed as it entered the designated docking area. Through the viewport, Lisa could see ships of various designs, some organic-looking, others geometric and rigid. All of them belonged to species that had been traveling the stars, while humans were still figuring out how to leave their own planet. "Remember," Lisa said to her crew on the bridge, "we represent all of Earth today. Keep your eyes open and your weapons holstered." Security Officer Nathan Boyd nodded, his hand never straying far from his sidearm. "Yes, Captain. But I don't like how those Raxian ships are positioned, almost like they're expecting trouble." Lisa had noticed it too, but kept her concerns quiet. The Council had arranged the meeting after much pressure from Earth's ambassadors. They couldn't afford to start with accusations. 3 hours later, Lisa, Jack, and a small team walked through the massive halls of the Council station. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around them, some floating, others walking on multiple legs, a few even shifting forms as they moved. Most gave the humans a wide berth, with looks that Jack recognized as either fear or disgust. "They don't seem happy to see us," whispered Communications Officer Maria Diaz. Jack forced a smile. "They're just not used to our appearance yet. We look as strange to them as they do to us." The delegation was led to a vast chamber where 7 beings sat on elevated platforms. Each represented one of the founding species of the Galactic Council. At the center sat a tall, blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms and eyes that shifted color like oil on water. "I am Zixtar of the Aldarian Collective," the blue being announced, voice echoing without any visible amplification. "You stand before the Galactic Council, humans of Earth. State your purpose." Jack stepped forward. "Honorable Council members, we come seeking recognition and membership. Earth and its colonies wish to join the galactic community as equal partners in trade, knowledge, and peaceful exploration." A rumble of whispers filled the chamber. Zixtar's eyes shifted to a deep red. "Equal partners," another council member hissed, this one resembling a giant insect with translucent wings. "Your species has barely learned to leave its gravity well. You've existed in space for mere moments compared to the rest of us." Yet in those moments, Lisa added, stepping beside Jack, "We've established colonies on 14 worlds across 3 star systems. We've developed faster than light travel independently. We've made peaceful contact with 23 spacefaring species." "Too fast," a third council member gurgled through a translator. This one floated in a tank of greenish liquid. "Too aggressive. Too curious." Zixtar raised 2 of his 4 hands for silence. "The Council has concerns about humanity's rapid expansion and technological development. It is unusual. Some find it threatening." Jack felt a chill run down his spine, but kept his diplomatic smile fixed in place. "We understand your caution. That's why we're here, to establish trust through transparency." "Very well," Zixtar said after a long pause. "The Council will hear Earth's petition over the next 3 cycles. You will present your case, your history, your intentions. Then we will deliberate." As the humans were escorted out, Lisa caught the gaze of a smaller council member, whose eyes seemed to hold something like warning or pity. The captain couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. "Did you notice the security drones?" Engineer Sam Collins whispered as they walked back to their ship. "They've got weapons I've never seen before. And the energy readings I'm getting are off the charts." "Log everything," Lisa ordered quietly. "But keep it friendly. We need this alliance." Jack nodded in agreement, though his diplomatic instincts were screaming danger. Little did they know, several council factions had already labeled humanity a threat to galactic stability, one they had decided to eliminate before it grew any stronger. 3 days of talks left Jack Russell feeling cautiously hopeful. The council members had listened to their presentations about Earth history, culture, and technology with what seemed like growing interest. Even Zixtar's eyes had shifted from suspicious red to a more neutral purple during their discussions. "I think we're making progress," Jack said as he and Captain Lisa Morrison walked back to the Dauntless after their final scheduled meeting. Lisa nodded but didn't share his optimism. "Maybe, but something still feels off." When they reached the ship, Engineer Sam Collins was waiting for them with a worried look. "Captain, I've been monitoring energy readings from the council ships. They've been powering up weapons systems for the last 6 hours." "Are you sure?" Lisa asked, immediately alert. "It could be standard procedure." Sam shook his head. "I've cross-checked with every known species protocols. This is different. Their power cores are running hot, way beyond normal operations." "I'll talk to Zixtar," Jack offered. "There might be a simple explanation." Lisa considered this. "Send a message, but don't mention our concerns directly. Say we're looking forward to tomorrow's ceremony, and ask if there are any last-minute protocols we should know about." The next morning, the Dauntless and its 3 escort ships formed a ceremonial pattern near the council station. As agreed, they would demonstrate Earth's ship-to-ship coordination capabilities, a peaceful display meant to show human precision and discipline. Lieutenant Amanda Peters stood at her tactical station on the bridge. "All ships in position, Captain. Ready to begin the display on your mark." Lisa nodded. "Begin on my count. 3, 2. The sensor alarm blared before she could finish. "Captain," Amanda shouted. "Multiple weapon locks from council vessels." Lisa didn't hesitate. "Shields up. All ships, defensive positions." But it was too late. The first volley from the council warships tore through the unprepared Earth vessels. The Dauntless rocked violently as its port side was hit. "Return fire," Lisa ordered, gripping her chair as the ship shuddered under another impact. "Communications are being jammed," Maria Diaz reported, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. "We can't coordinate with the escort ships." Through the viewport, Lisa watched in horror as one of their escorts, the Swift, exploded into fragments. The other 2 were trying to retreat but taking heavy fire. "They're targeting our engines," Sam reported from engineering, his voice barely audible over the alarms. "They don't want any of us to escape." Another blast rocked the ship, throwing Lisa against the bulkhead. Pain shot through her body as something sharp pierced her side. Jack rushed to her. "Captain's hit. We need medical." "Forget me," Lisa gasped. "Get as many people off this ship as possible." The lights flickered and died, replaced by the red glow of emergency power. Smoke filled the bridge as systems failed across the ship. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 5, Amanda reported. "Life support failing." Lisa pulled herself up despite the pain. "Launch all escape pods. Amanda, get a shuttle ready. Someone has to warn Earth." "Captain, I'm not leaving you," Jack protested. "That's an order, diplomat," Lisa snapped. "Earth needs to know this wasn't an accident. This was planned." As the Dauntless continued to break apart around them, Amanda managed to reach the emergency shuttle bay with a handful of survivors. Jack half-carried a badly wounded Lisa through the corridors. "We've got room for 12 more," Amanda called from the shuttle doorway. They never made it. A final blast separated the section of hallway where Jack and Lisa were struggling forward. Jack could only watch as the path to the shuttle was cut off by collapsing metal and fire. "Go," Lisa shouted to Amanda through her communicator. "That's an order." The last thing Amanda saw as the shuttle launched was council ships methodically destroying every escape pod that managed to launch from the dying Dauntless. On the council station, Zixtar addressed the galaxy with solemn eyes that had turned a bright, satisfied yellow. "Today, The Galactic Council was forced to defend itself against human aggression. Their ships attempted an unprovoked attack on our peaceful station. Regrettably, we had no choice but to respond with force. The betrayal was complete, and humanity's warning had come too late. Daniel Wright couldn't believe what he was seeing. As a communications specialist on Earth's lunar base, he had intercepted and decoded Council transmissions for the past 3 days. Now he watched in horror as live feeds showed the colony of New Haven burning. "This can't be happening," he whispered as his screens displayed Council warships in orbit around the human colony. Their weapons rained fire on the civilian settlements below. His supervisor, Major Ellen Grant, looked over his shoulder with a grim face. "How many people were on New Haven?" "Around 40,000, Daniel replied, his voice breaking. "Mostly families." Major Grant turned to another officer. "Get me Earth Command now." On New Haven, smoke filled the sky as buildings collapsed. Council ground forces moved through the streets, their weapons cutting down anyone who tried to flee. Children cried for parents who couldn't answer. The colony that had been a symbol of human achievement became a graveyard in hours. 3 systems away, the military colony of Sparta faced the same threat. Colonel Ryan Phillips had received the warning just in time. "Evacuation ships launch in 30 minutes," he shouted to his officers. "Priority to civilians and essential personnel. Everyone else prepare for defense." Lieutenant Olivia Chen reported from the command center. "Sir, 17 Council warships just entered orbit. They're launching dropships." Ryan nodded grimly. "Activate all defense systems. We need to buy time for the evacuation." Sparta's defensive cannons fired at the incoming ships. Some found their marks, destroying several Council vessels. But the colony's defenses weren't designed to face such overwhelming force. "Evacuation ships 1 through 10 are away," Olivia reported as the command center shook from nearby impacts. "How many people?" Ryan asked. "About half the colony, sir. 12,000. Ryan closed his eyes briefly. "It will have to be enough. Order all remaining ships to launch now, ready or not." Across human space, the pattern repeated. Research stations, mining facilities, and small outposts were systematically destroyed. Few received any warning. Those who managed to escape told stories of merciless attacks and the cold efficiency with which the Council forces operated. Back on Earth, government leaders gathered in emergency session as reports flooded in. "This is not just an attack," said Defense Secretary Frank Miller, his face pale as he addressed the assembly. "This is an attempt to wipe us out completely." President Laura Sanchez looked at the grim faces around her. "How many colonies have we lost?" 7 confirmed destroyed, Frank replied. 4 others have gone silent. We've received distress calls from 6 more currently under attack. Laura's hands tightened into fists, and our response capabilities. Admiral Gary Woods stepped forward. "The home fleet is our only significant force remaining. Most of our off-world ships were either with the diplomatic mission or stationed at colonies that have been hit." In lunar orbit, Daniel Wright continued monitoring Council communications. A particular transmission made his blood run cold. "Major," he called out, "they're planning to attack Earth directly. I've intercepted their battle plans. 3 days from now, a fleet of 50 ships will arrive." Major Grant stared at the data. "Are you absolutely certain?" Daniel nodded. "The encryption was complex, but I'm sure. They're calling it Final Sanction. They want to end humanity entirely." Meanwhile, the shuttle from the Dauntless limped toward Earth, carrying the few survivors of the initial betrayal. Lieutenant Amanda Peters had kept them alive through 2 emergency jumps and a dangerous hide-and-run chase through an asteroid field. "We'll reach Earth in 14 hours, she told the exhausted survivors, "assuming we don't encounter any Council patrols." From the back of the shuttle, a wounded engineer named Sam Collins looked up. "They won't stop with the Dauntless. They planned this all along. The Council won't stop until every human is dead." Amanda's face hardened as she piloted the damaged shuttle. "Then we need to make sure they fail." and that they pay for every life they've taken. On the burning remains of New Haven, Council Commander Grex Nar reported to Zixtar, "The human colony has been pacified. No significant resistance remains." Zixtar's eyes glowed with satisfaction. "Excellent. Proceed to the next target. The humans must learn that the galaxy has rules, even if they won't survive to follow them." Lieutenant Amanda Peters guided the damaged shuttle into Earth's orbit. Her hands trembled slightly after days without proper rest. Behind her, the 11 survivors of the Dauntless watched as the blue planet came into view. "Earth Defense Command, this is Lieutenant Peters of the Dauntless," she called over the comm. "We are the only survivors of the diplomatic mission. Request immediate landing clearance and security." The shuttle was quickly surrounded by Earth fighters and escorted to a secure military base in the North American region. As they landed, Amanda saw dozens of armed soldiers waiting. "They're afraid we might not be who we say we are," Sam Collins whispered. The engineer had spent the journey analyzing the data he managed to save before the Dauntless was destroyed. President Laura Sanchez waited in a secure room as Amanda and Sam were brought in. Her face showed the strain of 3 days without sleep. "Tell me everything," the president said simply. Amanda spoke clearly despite her exhaustion. "It was a setup from the beginning, Madam President. The Council never intended to accept our petition. They planned to destroy us from the moment we arrived." Sam placed a small device on the table. "I have proof. Sensor readings, communications, weapons signatures. They powered up their weapons hours before our ceremonial display. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a mistake. It was premeditated murder." Across the room, Defense Secretary Frank Miller looked grim. "This confirms what we've learned from our own sources. The Council has destroyed 9 colonies completely. 3 more are currently under attack. Any word from Horizon?" Amanda asked, thinking of the large mining colony where her brother lived. Frank shook his head. "Partial communication only. They're under occupation rather than immediate destruction. The Council seems to want their resources." On Horizon, former mining supervisor Kelly Martinez crouched in a maintenance tunnel with 20 other survivors. Above them, Council troops patrolled the streets of the main settlement. "They're setting up some kind of processing center in the main square," whispered Ben Harris, who had just returned from scouting. "They're separating people, taking some away, putting others to work in the mines." Kelly's face hardened. "Then we hit them before they get fully established. There are thousands of miners who know these tunnels. We can use that." "With what weapons?" someone asked. Kelly smiled grimly. "Mining charges, industrial tools, maintenance equipment. This colony was built by people who turn rocks into resources. We'll show them what else we can do with those skills." Back on Earth, Daniel Wright had been transported from the lunar base to join the Central Defense Planning. His communications expertise had proven invaluable. "They're coming in 3 waves," he explained to the assembled military leaders. "First wave aims to destroy our orbital defenses. Second targets military installations. Third is designed to eliminate population centers." Admiral Gary Woods nodded. "Then we meet them before they reach Earth. Every ship we have, everything that can fly and fight." "It won't be enough," Sam Collins said quietly. Everyone turned to him. "I've analyzed their technology. Their shields are generations ahead of ours. Their weapons cut through our best defenses like they weren't there." Amanda stood up. "So we find a new way to fight. The Council thinks they know us, but they've only seen our diplomacy and our conventional military. They haven't seen humanity truly desperate yet." In a secluded research facility in the Rocky Mountains, a call came through on a line that hadn't been used in years. Dr. Alan Brooks, a reclusive weapons designer who had withdrawn from public service a decade earlier, listened silently to President Sanchez's plea. "You understand what you're asking," he finally said. "Project Prometheus was shut down because it was deemed too dangerous, too uncontrollable." "I understand," Laura replied. "But I'm not asking anymore, Alan. I'm authorizing full reactivation. The survival of our species depends on it. Dr. Brooks looked at the wall where plans for weapons of terrifying power had been sealed away. Very well. God help us all. As night fell across Earth, millions of people watched the sky with new fear. But in command centers, research labs, and civilian homes alike, fear was hardening into something else. Resolve. The Council had awakened something they never anticipated. The full, unified wrath of humanity fighting for its very existence. Dr. Alan Brooks stood in the center of a vast underground facility that hadn't seen full power in over a decade. Lights flickered on one by one, revealing row after row of strange machines and weapons in various stages of completion. "It's all still here," he said as President Laura Sanchez walked beside him. "Everything they told me to stop building." "Will it work against the Council ships?" Laura asked. Alan ran a hand through his gray hair. The Sunfire system was designed to defeat any known shielding technology. The gravity lance can disrupt the fabric of space itself, but they're not complete, and they were never tested in actual combat. "How long?" was all Laura asked. "With unlimited resources and personnel. 4 weeks for the Sunfire, 8 for the Lance." "You have 2 weeks for both," Laura said. "After that, there might not be an Earth left to save." In orbit around Earth, Admiral Gary Woods watched as civilian ships were converted to war vessels. Cargo haulers now carried missile launchers. Passenger liners were retrofitted with armor plating. Mining vessels became makeshift bombers. "It's not pretty, but it's all we have," he told Amanda Peters, who had been promoted to commander after her return. "The Council expects us to fight conventionally," Amanda replied. "That's exactly what we can't do." In a nearby lab, Sam Collins worked with a team of engineers, studying the Council technology he had managed to scan before the Dauntless was destroyed. "Look at this energy pattern," he said, pointing to a display. "Their shields oscillate at predictable frequencies. If we could exploit that rhythm." A young engineer named Lily Patel looked up from her terminal. "What if we created a virus? Something that could disrupt their shield timing?" Sam stared at her for a long moment. "That might actually work, but we'd need to get it into their systems somehow." On Horizon, Kelly Martinez's resistance had grown to over 400 people. They moved through maintenance tunnels and old mining shafts, striking at Council forces and disappearing before reinforcements arrived. "They're getting angry," Ben Harris reported after their latest attack had destroyed a Council supply depot. "They've doubled patrols in sectors 3 and 4. Kelly studied a rough map of the colony. "Good. Angry enemies make mistakes. We hit these power relay stations next. Without power, their communications go down. Their troops get isolated." Ben looked worried. "They've started public executions, Kelly. 10 colonists for every Council soldier we kill." Kelly's face hardened. "Then we stop killing them one by one. We make a strike so big they can't respond with executions. We hit their command center." Back on Earth, military bases around the world prepared for the coming attack. Soldiers trained day and night on new tactics designed to counter Council forces. Scientists worked around the clock to adapt Earth's technology for the fight ahead. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Brooks watched as his team assembled the first Sunfire prototype. The weapon looked deceptively simple, a silver cylinder about the size of a small car. "The key is the targeting system," he explained to Admiral Woods during an inspection. "It doesn't just hit their shields. It passes through them at the exact moment of frequency shift." "And this will work on their biggest ships?" the Admiral asked. "In theory," Alan replied. "But we won't know until we try it, and we only get one chance." On the lunar base, now converted to a forward defense position, Daniel Wright monitored Council communications with growing concern. "They've changed their attack plan," he reported to Earth Command. "They're coming sooner than we thought. 5 days, not 7. President Laura called an emergency meeting with her military advisors. "Where do we stand?" Admiral Woods was direct. "The orbital defense grid is at 60% capacity. The civilian fleet is armed but minimally trained. Dr. Brooks has one functional Sunfire prototype, with 2 more days. And the gravity lance? Laura asked. Not ready, Admiral Wood said. Dr. Brooks says they've solved the power issues, but the focusing system is still unstable. Laura looked around the room at the tired faces of Earth's defenders. Then we work with what we have. We've survived as a species because we adapt. Now we adapt to fight an enemy that thinks they know what we're capable of. As she spoke, the first reports came in of Council scout ships entering the outer solar system. Earth's last stand was about to begin. 6 months after the massacre, Earth was no longer the bright blue planet it once was. Scars from Council bombardments marked its surface where cities had once stood, but humanity had not fallen. Admiral Gary Wood stood on the bridge of the Defiance, a former cargo ship now serving as the flagship of Earth's makeshift fleet. 137 vessels of various sizes and designs formed up around him. All ships report ready, Admiral, Commander Amanda Peters said from her station. Gary took a deep breath. Then let's take the fight to them. Commence Operation Payback. The human fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, headed for a major Council supply depot in what had once been the new anchorage system. The depot supported Council operations against the remaining human colonies and served as a staging area for their continued attacks on Earth. Exit from FTL in 30 seconds, Amanda announced. Sunfire weapons charged and ready. When the human fleet appeared near the depot, the Council ships reacted with visible surprise. They had grown used to humanity fighting defensive battles, not launching attacks of their own. Council vessels powering weapons, reported Tactical Officer Will Gardner. They're moving to engage. Hold position, Gary ordered. Let them come to us. The Council warships approached in a standard attack formation, confident in their superior technology. What they didn't know was that Sam Collins' shield virus had already been deployed, hidden in falsified distress signals from human ships over the past month. Sunfire control to all ships, Dr. Alan Brooks' voice came over the comm. He had insisted on personally overseeing the new weapons. Target the lead vessels on my mark. The Council ships fired first, energy weapons lashing out at the human fleet. Some found their marks, destroying 3 smaller human vessels. Now, Alan said calmly. The Sunfire weapons fired from 20 ships simultaneously. The silver-blue beams seemed to bend slightly as they approached the Council shields, then passed through them as if they weren't there. Each beam struck with devastating effect, cutting Council ships in half or causing massive internal explosions. It works, Amanda exclaimed as the first wave of Council ships was decimated. Gary didn't allow himself to celebrate yet. All ships advance and engage. Secondary targets as planned. On horizon, Kelly Martinez and her resistance fighters moved through the tunnels toward the Council command center. 6 months of guerrilla warfare had taught them much about their enemy. Remember, Kelly told her team, we have 8 minutes from the first explosion until their reinforcements arrive. Plant the charges and get out. Ben Harris checked his makeshift bomb, crafted from mining explosives, just like we practiced. Kelly's team emerged from a maintenance shaft directly beneath the Council command center. Guards patrolled above, but none looked down at the grating beneath their feet. Now, Kelly whispered. The resistance fighters moved with practiced efficiency, placing explosives at key structural points. Council aliens shouted in alarm as humans suddenly appeared in their secure facility, but the resistance fighters had the element of surprise. Charges set, Ben called out. 90 seconds. Everyone out, Kelly ordered, firing her salvaged Council weapon to cover their retreat. They made it back to the tunnels just as the explosives detonated. The entire command center collapsed inward, taking the Council leadership on horizon with it. In space, the battle for the supply depot continued. The human fleet had lost 27 ships, but the Council forces were in disarray. They're trying to retreat, Amanda reported. 4 vessels attempting to jump to FTL. Cut them off, Gary ordered. No warnings, no survivors. A smaller, faster ship broke from the human formation. On board, Sam Collins watched his shield virus work in real time. "The virus is spreading through their network," he reported back to the Defiance. "Their entire command system is compromised. They can't coordinate their defense." On Earth, President Laura Sanchez received the first reports of the battle with a grim satisfaction. "New anchorage system is secure, Madam President," her aide reported. Admiral Woods reports minimal losses compared to projections. "The Sunfire weapons performed beyond expectations." Laura nodded. "And Dr. Brooks' other project? The Gravity Lance will be ready for deployment in 3 days." For the first time in months, Laura allowed herself a small smile. "Tell all remaining colonies, the counterattack has begun. Humanity is taking back what's ours." Admiral Gary Wood studied the holographic map showing human forces pushing deeper into Council space. Over the past month, Earth ships had reclaimed 3 colony systems and destroyed 7 major Council bases. "Their defense patterns are changing," Amanda Peters noted, pointing to a cluster of Council ships near a populated Aldarian world. "They're pulling back to protect their home systems." Gary nodded. "Just as we hoped. Their alliance is starting to crack." In a secure communication room nearby, Jack Russell, one of the few diplomats to survive the initial attack on Earth, made contact with an unexpected ally. The reptilian face of Ven Zar, representative of the Viridian species, appeared on his screen. "Your attacks have caused quite the stir in Council chambers," Ven Zar said, his scaled skin shifting colors with emotion. "Zixtar can no longer hide the truth." "What truth is that?" Jack asked cautiously. "That 3 Council species, including mine, voted against the attack on humanity. We were overruled and silenced. Now, as your forces demonstrate unexpected strength, those who opposed the war are speaking out again." Jack leaned forward. "Are you suggesting some Council members might be open to peace?" "Peace? Not yet. But division within the Council creates opportunity," Ven Zar replied. "Strike at Zixtar's faction directly. Make this personal for those who ordered your destruction." On Horizon, now fully liberated by the Resistance, Kelly Martinez led a different kind of operation. Her team had discovered coordinates for a Council detention center where captured humans were being held. Approximately 300 prisoners, she told her officers as they prepared for the rescue mission. Mostly scientists and military personnel captured during the early attacks. Ben Harris checked the weapons they had salvaged from defeated Council forces. "Security will be heavy." "That's why we're bringing this," Kelly said, revealing a Sunfire weapon modified for ground operations. Courtesy of Earth Command. The rescue team approached the detention center in stolen Council shuttles. The prison facility orbited a small moon, isolated and heavily guarded. "Council control, this is Transport CR 792 requesting emergency docking." Kelly transmitted using a Council communication device. "Engine malfunction, requesting immediate assistance." The deception worked. As soon as their shuttle entered the hangar bay, Kelly's team deployed, the Sunfire weapon cutting through Council defenses with frightening efficiency. "Cell block C, D, and E clear," reported a Resistance fighter over the comm. "Prisoners are in bad shape but alive." Kelly moved deeper into the facility and discovered something unexpected, a laboratory filled with biological samples taken from human prisoners. "They're studying us," she whispered in horror, "looking for weaknesses in our biology." She quickly downloaded all the research data and set charges to destroy the lab. Back on Earth, Dr. Alan Brooks prepared for the first deployment of the Gravity Lance. The weapon had been mounted on Earth's largest remaining warship, the Phoenix. "The targeting system is still experimental," he warned President Laura as they observed final preparations. "We'll only get one shot." "Make it count," Laura replied. "The Council homeworlds need to understand what happens when they try to exterminate humanity." The Phoenix departed with an escort of 20 ships, heading for the Aldarian home system, Zixtar's world. Meanwhile, Sam Collins continued refining his shield virus. What had begun as a simple disruption program had evolved into something far more sophisticated. "Look at this," he told Lily Pottle as they worked. "Their entire network is compromised. We can see their fleet movements, communication protocols, even their war plans." Lily pointed to a strange data cluster. "What's this?" Sam's eyes widened as he examined it. "It looks like internal council communications, arguments between their leaders. 3 species, the Viridians, Morax, and Tellarites, are demanding an end to the war." Across council space, the news of human victories spread. Species that had accepted the council's version of events now saw recordings of the massacre of human colonies. Evidence of the council's treachery, broadcast by human ships, turned public opinion on many worlds. In the council chamber, Zixtar faced growing opposition. "The humans were supposed to be easily crushed," shouted the Morax representative, their gelatinous form pulsing with anger. "Instead, they grow stronger with each attack." "We should never have supported this war," added the Tellarite counselor. "It was based on fear, not fact." Zixtar's eyes burned red with rage. "We cannot show weakness now. The humans must be." An aide rushed in, interrupting the heated debate. "Counselor, human ships have been detected entering the Aldarian system. They are headed directly." 1 year after the massacre, representatives from Earth stood in the Grand Council chamber. The same room where humans had once been viewed with suspicion and fear now fell silent as Admiral Gary Woods, Jack Russell, and President Laura Sanchez walked to the center. "We are here to discuss terms," Laura stated, her voice firm and unwavering. "Not for our surrender, but for yours." Zixtar, his once bright blue skin now pale and his eyes a defeated gray, sat smaller than before. The demonstration of the gravity lance in the Aldarian system had changed everything. The weapon had not destroyed their homeworld as feared, but its controlled use had collapsed an uninhabited moon into dust, a clear message of what could have been done to their planet. "The Council acknowledges its error in judgment," said the Viridian representative Venzar, who now led the Reformed Council. "We seek an end to hostilities." "Error." Jack Russell stepped forward, anger clear in his voice. "You call the murder of millions an error, the destruction of peaceful colonies an error." Admiral Woods placed a calming hand on Jack's shoulder. "What we seek is justice, not more destruction. These are our terms." Laura presented a data tablet containing humanity's demands: accountability for war criminals, massive reparations for destroyed colonies, and a permanent seat on a restructured council. "The terms are non-negotiable," she added. "Any species that rejects them will face the full might of Earth's forces, alone." The council members looked at each other, aware of their vulnerability. In 1 year, humanity had gone from near extinction to becoming the most feared power in the galaxy. The Sunfire weapons and gravity lance had changed the balance of power completely. On Horizon, now a symbol of human resilience, Kelly Martinez watched the proceedings via broadcast. The colony was being rebuilt, bigger and stronger than before. As the newly appointed governor, she oversaw not just reconstruction, but also the integration of friendly alien species who had sought refuge from council persecution. "Do you think they'll actually honor the agreement?" Ben Harris asked as they watched. Kelly smiled. "They don't have much choice. But more importantly, we're not the same people we were a year ago. We won't be fooled again." In his laboratory on Earth, Sam Collins put the final touches on an interspecies research initiative. Scientists from the 3 council species that had opposed the war now worked alongside humans, sharing knowledge and technology. "The shield harmonizer is ready for testing," announced Lily Pottle, now Sam's second in command. "With this, no ship will need to fear surprise attacks again." Sam nodded with satisfaction. "Protection, not destruction. That's how we move forward." In a solemn ceremony at the ruins of New Haven, construction began on a massive memorial. An artificial mountain was being created, with the name of every victim of the Council's attack etched into its surface. Dr. Alan Brooks stood among the crowd, watching as construction drones laid the foundation. "Was it worth it?" asked a voice beside him. Admiral Woods had joined him unnoticed. "Was what worth it?" Alan replied. "Creating weapons that could destroy worlds." Alan looked at the memorial site, then up at the sky. "We never used them to their full potential. That's what makes us different from them. We had the power to wipe out their worlds, just as they tried to do to us. But we chose justice over vengeance." Back in the council chamber, the representatives of 17 species, including Earth, signed the new Galactic Charter. At Laura's insistence, the first article established the right of all sentient species to exist without fear of extinction. "Let this be remembered," she said as she signed her name, "not as the day humanity conquered the galaxy, but as the day the galaxy learned that attempting to destroy us only makes us stronger." As the Earth delegation prepared to leave, Venzar approached Jack Russell privately. "Your species is remarkable," the Viridian said quietly. "In 1 year, you went from victims to leaders. Many still fear you." Jack looked the alien in the eyes. "Good. Fear can lead to respect, and respect to friendship, but never forget what happens when you threaten our existence." The message was clear. Humanity had not just survived. It had transformed the galaxy forever.